So everyone keeps talking about price, but one thing I don't really hear a lot of people talking about is supply. And the reason why I bring this up is because Hex, it's coming up on a year now, or it is a year, where Hex has underwent 2 Bitcoin halvings. So the fact that everyone's focused on price so much, they don't really realize how illiquid and how rare Hex is getting. And we still have a large number of stakers continuing to stake 5,555 days. Well, not a large number, but there's still a group of people doing that. There's still people buying Hex and locking up. And I wanted to actually go over a few different aspects of what I think is happening to the Hex supply and where it's going. Now I'm trying to share my screen here, so bear with me for 1 second. All right, it should be popped up. If we look at how many Hex there is per T-share, it's 44,352, right? So we got this number right here. Now, if we go back up, how much supply is in the Hex liquidity pools? Well, I mean, so this is eHex. Like, again, I usually just focus on PulseX. I think eHex is going to move too. But let's look at this. We got 160 million Hex in the V2 pool and 197 million Hex in the V1 pool. So if we were to, that's not what I was looking for. Where is it? See if I can pull up the calculator here. There we go. So if we were to take 167 plus, what do we have here? 197, we would get 364 million Hex, right? That's how much Hex is in the liquidity pools. So if it takes 44,352 Hex, I did the math earlier, that's about 14,800 Hex per T-share minimum for staking out 10 years. So if I do 14,000, so if we got, what was that number before? 367 million divided by 14,800 Hex. That means only 24,800 people can stake out 10 years. That's not very much, right? So, and that number is going to continue to go up, and that's to say some people might stake more than 10 years. Some people might buy T-shares and stake it out 5 to 10 years. So, I mean, that number is actually going to is less. Not everyone could get T-shares anymore, and these people even try to come in and get T-shares. So you have a dwindling supply, which means all it takes, and everything's been redistributed. Like the amount of Hex that's changed hands over the last few years, it's thinning. We have more people holding Hex in different amount of numbers than what we had before. So when sentiment flips, just a little bit of demand coming in, a little bit, can really change things. So I wanted you guys to keep that in mind. Like less than 25,000 people can buy 14,000 Hex and stake it for 10 years. So that kind of paints the picture here. And because we're only getting paid, where is it here? We're only getting paid 1.5. It was when the OA did all the staking, we were getting paid 1.5 Hex per T-share, right? And usually it's sitting, from what I've seen, 1.54. So it's barely went up. There must have been a few emergency end stakes, but it's around 1.55 usually a day now. So that shows you over a year, it's only went up 0.05 hex per T-share. That shows you that inflation just got massively cut. It's not coming back unless the OA decides to change it. When it ends its stay coming up here, we'll have a better idea. And look at the amount of stakers we still have, 136,060. And you can see over the last few months from November, 135,830. We're back over 136. It's trending up slowly. But again, when sentiment shifts, we will be able to know a lot more about what's going to happen. And another thing I wanted to take a look at here is Johnny Chaos made a post I wanted to point out. He said, if you are staked, this is your chart. You don't have hex to measure. You have future hex at future prices that aren't here yet, and T-shares that continue to cost more and more in hex terms, regardless of what the price is currently doing. If you are doing anything else, yep, the price chart is all you got, so deal with it. And that price chart he is describing should be over here. Where is that price chart actually? Thought it was on this one right here. No, it's on, oh no, that's actually on hex.com, my bad. But another thing Johnny said too is T-shares never go down in hex terms. I am sorry, you are a bit confused because your token only has one chart. We actually have tokenomics. You can see this chart that he's pointing out here. This is how much hex it costs to get a T-share. You see that? You see how that never is ever going to ever go down. So by the end of this year, we're looking at around 50,000 hex per T-share. So that's roughly 32. That's around 16,500 hex for you to stake out a year or 10 to 15 years to get one T-share. So these things matter because hex is not going to get any more. Hex is going to get more scarce and scarce as time goes on. And all it takes is for a switch to flip, sentiment to change, and everyone is not going to get a T-share no more. Like that day can come, and I think it will come. So you guys need to really realize that just because the price is low as it is right now, doesn't mean hex is set up to get rare. It's set up to get really scarce. I mean, you think all those millions of tablets go up. What if a 0.1% of those people want to stake hex? Even if they don't, like, it creates brand awareness. So when sentiment does flip, some of those people will get onboarded most likely. And these are all things you guys have to keep in mind, because the more the inflation stays this low and the more people continue to buy and stake, I think Crispy Man pointed out that there's, like, correct me if I'm wrong, 1,000 stakers roughly still buying and staking hex, and even a smaller amount continuing to make 5,555 day stakes, which is 15.2 years. You guys, hex, it's not, and I'm not even bringing in OA coming in and buying supply. None of that even matters to me. What matters to me is this number right here, 92.26% staked, meaning there's only a little over 7.5% on circulating around the market for people to buy. So you got to understand that there's not much hex available, and when sentiment flips, things could get violent very fast. And if you don't have your bags already, you will be left behind. So I'm gonna remove the screen. You guys, we are set up in a way that we can think everything's all doom and gloom, but I tend to keep a more long-term mindset because everything's set up in a way that is going to benefit us long-term. You have to think about it. If Hex is dead, like, people are saying, you get trolls in the comments or whatever, but if Hex is really dead, why is there so many people here still building? There's so many people building. That's not a characteristic of a dead coin, so, and again, it doesn't take much money for us to pump to the prices. Like, for us to do a 10x, it's nothing. And then my favorite thing is, well, all these people have millions of coins. No, not everyone has millions of coins. Some people have millions of coins. All right, you guys got to understand that only some people have millions of coins. So you're like, well, how can we ever hit $1 if someone has 30 million coins? Just hypothetically saying, like, there was a big dumper the other day what sold, what was it, 50, 60 million hex? I don't remember. But like, how could we hit $1 when there's players like that? You guys have to understand they're going to exit far before $1. Far before $1. And as sentiment flips, new money comes in. So as new money comes in, you have to understand that they're going to take the place of some of these people that are exiting. So while everyone argues about price, I'm more concerned about sentiment. I'm watching the supply, and the supply does not care about sentiment. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go and make sure you subscribe. I'll be posting on X, and if you can, retweet it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one.